The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 video. Well, that was certainly one hell of an episode. As always, there were some things I really liked, and there were some things that I did not like about the episode. I thought about recording my thoughts as soon as it was over, but my emotions were still very high, so I decided to watch the episode again, then sleep on it before I made a video. Now that I have had some extra time to think about everything, I want to talk about the battle for King's Landing. Let's start right at the beginning of the episode when we see Varys writing letters about Jon's claim to the Iron Throne. This is a moment we have been leading up to for quite some time. Well, Varys was actually right. Daenerys did exactly what he thought she would do. He knew Daenerys would bring fire and blood to the streets of King's Landing. It's hard to say exactly how many letters Varys was able to send out before he was caught, but I would like to think that some of his ravens did reach their location. Therefore, Jon's secret will no longer be a secret between a few characters. When we see Varys writing those letters, one of his little birds comes into the room to talk to him about Dany. You have to wonder how long she has been working for Varys because they worked together down in the crypts of Winterfell. He was most likely setting things in motion long before he ever revealed his intentions to Tyrion Lannister in the last episode. Varys had indicated he would have Daenerys Targaryen killed, and it seems like that is exactly what he was trying to do in this episode. Varys' little bird says that Dany has not been eating any food, so it does seem as if Varys was having her deliver some to Dany, because he was most likely trying to poison the food. If you remember all the way back in the first season, this is the same way they tried to kill Dany when she went to the wine merchant.
I hope to repay your kindness someday. Something wrong?
I have a thirst. Open it.
The wine is for the Khaleesi, it's not for the likes of you.
Open it.
Whatever arrangements you made, unmake them at once.
I'm afraid those birds have flown. The girl is likely dead already.
Varys did help set that in motion as well. We then see Tyrion watching as Varys talks to Jon on the beach of Dragonstone. This leads to him telling Daenerys of his treason because he now knows Varys has taken things a step further by doing this right under Dany's nose. Varys often works behind the scenes in the shadows, but now he's walking right up to Jon on the beach in the middle of the day. Before he can even get the words out, Dany says she already knows someone is betraying her. Dany was basically waiting for this to happen because Jon already indicated he would tell his family the truth. Dany knew that as soon as Sansa found out, she would tell others in hopes of Jon taking the Iron Throne before she could. We all saw what Dany just did to King's Landing, so what could that mean for Sansa now that she has taken the gloves off? Dany also made it very clear to Tyrion he will not be getting any second chances. He was foolish for thinking Sansa only told him the truth because she trusted him. Dany has only known Sansa for a short amount of time, yet she already knows what Sansa is actually trying to do. Now that Dany has taken down Cersei Lannister and her army, she will now focus on those around her that are not on her side. Anyone that she sees as someone who may have crossed her could be facing some serious consequences. Dany further indicates this in her next scene when her and Jon speak together. She knows that Sansa wants her gone, and she reminds Jon that Sansa broken their trust by telling others his secret. Dany will absolutely want something done about that. There is no way that Dany could be comfortable on the Iron Throne if she knows her so-called allies are actively trying to remove her. Either Dany has to go, or Sansa has to go. That leaves Jon in a very tough position because he obviously has love for both of them. Not to mention he is related to Sansa, and he is related to Dany. We are now starting to see that Jon will have to draw a line in the sand. Dany still wants a different kind of love from Jon. However, now that he knows they're related, he can no longer continue the same relationship they once had. He basically tells Dany, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, if you know what I mean. Dany realizes that no one in Westeros loves her the way that she wants. In her mind, she has already came to save all of them, which she already kinda did when she helped Jon defeat the army of the dead, but that apparently isn't enough. They're still not ready to accept her, and now that everything else is falling apart around Dany, this moves her closer and closer to the breaking point. She more or less says, alright, fine. If they don't want to love me, then let them fear me. Her friends are dead, her other dragons are dead, Jon no longer loves her like he once did, his family hates her, and her only other advisor cannot be trusted anymore. All she really has on her side is her dragon, so why not become one herself? Then we get the execution of Lord Varys. He tried to cover up the evidence once before by burning the letters, but this time we see him take the rings off of his fingers. That may have been where Varys was hiding the poison, kinda like how it was in Sansa's necklace during Joffrey's wedding. Unfortunately for Varys, it's already too late. The cat is already out of the bag. Daenerys was basically emotionless when she killed Varys, and it even looked like Jon was a little unsettled by that. But what's done is done. I saw this coming from a mile away. Let's go to the next scene where Tyrion and Greyworm talk to Dany. This is when Dany is really starting to show signs of not caring about the people in King's Landing. Tyrion says what he can to try to get Dany to see that all of them don't deserve to die. She doesn't have to burn the entire city to win the battle. He tries to convince her to stop the fighting as soon as the bells start to ring. That will be the sign that the city has fell and everyone is surrendering. Now Dany does agree to this, but she hesitates ever so slightly. It's almost as if she begrudgingly accepts Tyrion's wishes. Dany even looks over at Grey Worm, and even he doesn't seem to want to agree with it either. Unfortunately, they do not want to see Cersei or her men surrender. They want everyone to attack because they are out for blood, and they obviously do not want to stop until everyone is dead. It's actually very sad to see characters become that dark, but this is only the beginning. Right as the scene is about to end, Dany tells him about Jaime getting captured by her men. Now she knows Jaime wants to go back to Cersei. If you remember back at Winterfell when Jaime first arrived, Dany did not want him getting off so easily. Basically everyone in the room besides her agreed to let Jaime stay. Dany accepted their advice once again, and it ended up blowing up in her face once again. I'm actually a little surprised that Dany did not have Jaime killed almost immediately after his capture. Dany does, however, make it very clear to Tyrion, you will not be getting any second chances. Your advice has screwed me over one too many times. I've had enough. So, what does Tyrion do next? He goes to see Jaime to let him free. The first thing he does is go to Davos because, as we all know, Davos is the greatest smuggler in Westeros. After all, he was the one that got Tyrion into King's Landing last season. Now, I can't believe that Davos would even agree to do this for Tyrion and Jaime. This very well could get Davos executed by Dany. I mean, now you know why Dany is getting so paranoid. Everyone on her side is working right behind her back. There is no way that Jon Snow would agree to letting Davos do something like that for Jaime. I don't care if he did help them fight the army of the dead or not. Jaime had no intentions of trying to kill Cersei or even help all the citizens in King's Landing. All he really cared about was getting back to Cersei, which was very frustrating for me. We have seen Jaime come so far as a character just to see him revert right back to his old self. He even said to Tyrion, "I never cared about the people in King's Landing," and I thought that was a crazy thing to say, considering Jaime nearly got himself executed to save all of them when he killed the Mad King. Remember that amazing scene when Jaime and Brienne were bathing together?
How many men have you killed, my lord?
I don't know.
50? 100? Countless.
Countless has a nice ring to it.
And how many lives have you saved?
500,000. The population of King's Landing.
Tell me if your precious Randy commanded you to kill your own father and stand by while thousands of men, women, and children burned alive, would you have done it? Would you have kept your oath then?
Jaime said in that scene, "What would you do if your king wanted you to stand by while he murdered thousands of innocent lives?" But now, for some reason, Jaime no longer cares about them. I could not believe Jaime was about to do this. Now, besides all that, I really did love how the scene ended. I did like that Tyrion was able to tell Jaime just how much he has meant to him. He was absolutely right when he said Jaime was the only one who actually cared about him.
And she said he killed my mother. And she pinched your little cock so hard I thought she might pull it off until your brother made her stop. It doesn't matter, she told us. Everyone says he will die soon. I hope they are right. He should not have lived this long.
His other family members wanted to see him dead from the moment that he was born, but Jaime was the only one who was always there. He was the only one who never looked at him as if he were some kind of a monster, and I can understand why he would want to set his brother free, even if it meant his own life. I think most of us would try to do the same thing for someone we really loved. Not to mention, he was really counting on the fact that Jaime would change his mind and do the right thing by making sure the city surrendered before everyone had to die. Now this is something Tyrion will have to answer for later. The Unsullied men who were guarding Jaime know that it was Tyrion who saw him last. It will be fairly obvious that he was the one that set Jaime free. Now I wonder if Davos will have to answer for this because he is the one who made sure Jaime got off Dragonstone and back over to King's Landing. He may have to face consequences as well, and right now, Dany's not in a very good mood. Now let's get to the scenes in King's Landing. When everyone was getting into position, it felt very intense and I absolutely loved it. The shots at King's Landing looked amazing, Euron's fleet out on the Blackwater Bay looked amazing, the Golden Company marching down the streets looked badass, then we saw Arya and the Hound moving around the city trying to get to the Red Keep, then we had Jaime moving around the city trying to get to the Red Keep. I was on the edge of my seat during the whole time. I kept thinking, who's gonna get to Cersei first? Who's gonna get to Cersei first? Will it be Dany, Arya, Jaime? Who knows, but I can't wait to see what happens next. Then we saw the Golden Company line up right outside of the city gate. I could not wait to see how well they could fight because we kept hearing Cersei has 20,000 mercenaries who are well trained and well rested. They even showed Harry Strickland the same way they showed Jon Snow right before the Battle of the Bastards. The camera was behind him and it slowly rolled up his back to show the army on the opposite side, and I was thinking, damn, this dude might be able to kick some serious ass. Now, besides Jaime wanting to go back to Cersei, I did like everything else in the episode leading up to the battle. Everything I talked about so far I did enjoy without really any issues other than Jaime. But then the battle started, and, well, it was obviously extremely one-sided. The Golden Company sucked. These 20,000 so-called mercenaries looked like a bunch of bitches. Harry Strickland was very disappointing. Even his death was pathetic. We then begin to see Daenerys wipe out everything with ease. In the last episode, we saw the Scorpions kill Rhaegal within the matter of seconds, but now they have even more Scorpions, but they don't even land one shot on Drogon, who is a much bigger target, I might add. Now you could say yes, Drogon is bigger, but he's also faster. Also, Drogon has a rider and Daenerys displays exactly how dangerous a dragon is when it comes to directing it when and where to go at all times. Dany begins to wipe out Cersei's army by the thousands, and honestly, they didn't even stand a chance. Jon barely even had to swing his own sword. Now, another thing that really annoyed me about Jaime is he had the opportunity to ring the bell before he got to Cersei. In the middle of the battle, when it's complete chaos, Jaime is still trying to find a way to get inside of the Red Keep. Right before Tyrion set him free, he said that he would try to get Cersei to make them surrender. However, Jaime should have been able to ring the damn bell on his own. He could see that the city was already falling around him, but he selfishly wanted to get to Cersei regardless of how many died on the streets. Now, when it came to Cersei during this battle, I wasn't exactly sure why she still thought she could win, even after she saw how bad things were getting. I almost started to laugh when she said the city will not fall. The Red Keep has never fell. I could not tell if she was just very confident or if she was in denial, or maybe a little bit of both. Anyways, now let's get to what everyone is talking about. The moment in which Daenerys decides to turn King's Landing into a living hell. The bells begin to ring, but Daenerys is not satisfied by their easy surrender. This causes Dany to snap. You see, Dany gave Cersei the opportunity to surrender before anyone had to die, but Cersei did not accept. Now King's Landing is surrendering almost immediately, which Dany most likely feels like Missandei and Rhaegal died for nothing. Why did that have to happen if they were just going to give up so easily? Then you add to that all the other losses Dany has had to face, and all the characters around her trying to cause her downfall. So, she loses it, and I have to say, I was absolutely shocked by this. Not because Dany turned into a mad queen, that has been a theory for over a decade, I always knew that could happen. But what I was not expecting is how relentless Dany was after she lost it. Dany was burning the civilians for almost 30 minutes of the episode, or that's at least what it felt like. I remember very late into the episode when it felt like it was over, I thought, she has to be done. There is no way she is still burning everything. Then the scene cuts back to Dany's dragon still burning the streets, and I was like, holy shit, will this ever stop? Now I was hoping that Dany would burn all of Cersei's soldiers. I was hoping that Dany would burn down the Red Keep. I was even ready to accept a little bit of collateral damage, but this I cannot accept. And I don't care how upset Dany was, you cannot justify those actions. I even saw some fans say, well, they all deserved it. They were cheering for Ned Stark to get executed. Well, there was maybe only a few hundred at Ned's execution, and most of them were adults. Dany was killing children who weren't even alive when Ned was executed. Now imagine if that were you and your child out there running on the streets. Would you think you deserved to die just because you lived in that city? I don't think so. And yes, she was killing them intentionally. That was not collateral damage, that was murder. Now, on the other hand, It absolutely felt rushed. Yes, Dany has shown some signs of madness before, but nothing like this. I think if they did want to have Dany do something like that, then we should have seen her kill some innocent civilians on smaller scales leading up to this. Every other time Dany burnt someone alive, it felt justified. I don't think it would have been as shocking if we seen Dany target some civilians in other smaller battles before this big one. Now, if I take a step back and just look at it as someone who likes to watch television, it looked incredible. Getting to see that kind of chaos in King's Landing makes for one hell of an episode. Like I said, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I also did like how we were able to see the wildfire getting set off during the scenes of the battle. Dany and Bran's visions also came true like most of us knew they would. The dragon flew over King's Landing and the Red Keep was massacred. But then we see a lame-ass Euron and Jaime fight on the beach. The only thing I really liked about the scene was when it reminded me of what Jaime once said to Ned Stark back in the first season.
Is that what you tell yourself at night? You're a servant of justice. That you were avenging my father when you shoved your sword in Aerys Targaryen's back.
Tell me, if I stabbed the Mad King in the belly instead of the back, would you admire me more?
When they were talking about Jaime killing the Mad King, Jaime said something along the lines of, "Would you have admired me more if I stabbed the Mad King in the belly instead of the back?" I don't know if this was meant to be a callback or not, but it did work for me, because the fatal blow was when Jaime stabbed Euron in the belly. I also did really like when the Hound was finally able to fight his brother. This was very predictable, but it was also very satisfying for me. Now, right before that does happen, Arya and the Hound do have a nice final moment together. I kinda saw this as the Hound making Arya realize getting your revenge is not worth your own life. You really don't want to live your entire life where you're only motivated by hate and wanting to get that revenge against those who have done you or your family wrong. Cersei was about to die anyway, so why stay here to kill her when it's going to cost you your own life? Now, it was very interesting when we saw the Mountain no longer wanting to obey Cersei or Qyburn's commands. The Clegane's hatred for one another runs so deep that not even his masters could contain him. I do kinda wish that we would have got to see Cersei's head slam against the rock just like Qyburn's. That would have been a hell of a lot more satisfying than seeing her have the chance to run right back into Jaime's arms again. I can't even begin to tell you how disappointed I was when Cersei Lannister died the way that she did. For everything that she has done and caused over the years, I really wanted to see her suffer for it. Anyways, for a few moments, I wasn't sure if the Hound was going to win the fight or not. His brother was almost able to do the same finishing move that he did to Oberyn Martell. Now, what's kind of funny is the Hound actually got the upper hand by doing what Arya once said she would do to him. He stuck the blade right through his eye and out the back of his skull.
Someday, I'm gonna put a sword through your eye and out the back of your skull.
And of course, speaking of Arya Stark, the episode more or less ends with her running through the streets trying to find some cover. She does try to help a mother and her daughter get to safety, but Dany runs both of them down in the street. I'm sure most of you noticed this already, but the little girl was holding a white horse in her hand. And interestingly enough, it's a white horse that somehow appears out of nowhere to give Arya a ride out of the city. Now, Arya does see the mother and the child again, but they were burned alive. The horse in her hand is also very reminiscent of the one that Davos gave to Shireen Baratheon. When it comes to the white horse, I think most would agree that it most likely represents death, which does fit with Arya Stark given her storyline throughout most of the show. Not only her time with the Faceless Men, but also the phrase, "What do we say to the god of death? Not today." Now, does it mean that Arya Stark will take that white horse to go kill Dany? Some say that she does have green eyes, so maybe Arya kills her for burning everyone in the city. Well, we know that Arya could kill Dany if she really wanted to, but I think someone else will kill Dany before it's all said and done. Most of you already know who that is. I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to spoil it for others who may not want to know. Anyways, that's all I really have to say about this episode. Comment down below and let me know what you think. I want to thank everyone for watching the video, and I also want to thank everyone for supporting the channel. I hope y'all have a great day. I'll see you again very soon. Bye.